Hello YouTube. Are you giving Sig Sauer the benefit of the doubt? If you are, this video is for you. Bottom line up front, if you trust SIG's own documents submitted as part of the Army MHS competition, and you also trust the FBI Ballistic Research Facility's assessment of a P320 that discharged in a holster, then I'm about to show you why trust in those two documents alone should end all doubt in your mind that the P320 is capable of firing uncommanded and without a trigger pull. Recently, fellow YouTuber Protraband was able to use the Freedom of Information Act to obtain the report generated by the FBI Ballistic Research Facility, or BRF, after their in-depth assessment of a P320 pistol submitted to them by the Michigan State Police. This document, entitled Michigan State Police Sig Sauer M18 Evaluation, is linked in the description. The report is 32 pages long and extremely detailed, and the part pertinent to this video starts on page 29. I will quote from the document. Because of inherent movement between the slide and frame, a third test of the striker safety lock was conducted. Approximately 50 attempts were made to determine if the striker would impact the primed case after manipulating the weapon while holstered. The weapon was pressed together and pulled apart at the slide and frame. Thereafter, pressure was applied to the frame and the sear manually released from the primary notch. The intent of the manipulation and pressure was to mimic what might occur to a holstered weapon during an officer's duties, such as running, jumping, climbing, fighting, pressing a weapon against a wall or vehicle, or obtaining a master grip on the pistol prior to drawing, etc. BRF staff observed the prime case fired on 9 attempts, with the primer indent measuring between 0.019 and 0.026 of an inch, with an average of 0.023 inches. While staging one attempt to allow another BRF staff member to observe the striker safety lock function as designed, the weapon was prepared and placed into the holster with no manipulation. A second staff member released the primary sear notch from the striker, and the primed case fired, indicating failure of the striker safety lock. End quote. The important thing to take away here is that the striker safety in the examined firearm was able to be defeated by simply jostling the P320 in the holster, as would be expected to happen for any firearm carried in a holster throughout the day. Additionally, FBI BRF replicated the result on a second, brand new, unfired P320. I will quote again, starting at the bottom of page 29. A brand new, unfired Sig Sauer M18 pistol was obtained from the MSP, Michigan State Police, to determine if the test could be repeated on another weapon. On the first attempt, the striker safety lock successfully prevented the striker from impacting the prime case. However, on the second attempt, the prime case fired, indicating the striker safety lock failed to stop the striker's forward movement. End quote. Now, keeping the FBI BRF conclusion that the striker safety can easily and repeatedly be defeated in mind, let us now turn to the second document, which SIG themselves submitted as part of the Army's Modular Handgun System, or MHS, competition. This document, titled MHS Pistol Failure Modes, Effects and Criticality Analysis, or FMECA, details many individual failure modes of the P320 pistol and what mitigations SIG put in place to decrease, but not eliminate, the likelihood of their occurrence. This document was found heavily redacted in the public domain by Derek from Practical Shooting Insights as evidence in a lawsuit. However, he also discovered that the redaction was done digitally and in a reversible way. I myself replicated the removal of redactions using Adobe software, confirming Derek's findings. I will link the redacted document on Court Listener in the description, and I implore you to check our work and remove the redactions yourself to ensure no funny business. There are many concerning things in this document. However, I will focus on the 3 that mention sear failures that SIG claims are mitigated by the P320 striker safety, which the FBI BRF found to be easily defeated. Because the first portion of this document is formatted with a very small font and references probability codes on a separate page, I have copy and pasted the relevant contents in a table more easily viewed on this medium and inserted the descriptions of the probability codes for easy reading. In doing so, I have rotated the layout and given the failure mode a column numbered 1, 2, and 3. I want to stress that this is in SIG's own self-assessment of the likelihood of these failures, and additionally the likelihood after their mitigation. Obviously, SIG assessed the effectiveness of the striker safety mitigation too highly, so it is likely as not that they are assessed the probability of the failure mode itself in their favor as well. The first column, potential cause of failure and probability of occurrence, impact to weapon, dropped, bumped, vibration. Potential failure mode, the pistol accidentally and unintentionally discharges. The potential effect of failure, a person unalived unintentionally. Probability level description, C, occasional, specific individual item, likely to occur sometimes in the life of the item. Fleet or inventory will occur several times. The firing mechanism of the P320, and this is their description of the action results taken to mitigate this. The firing mechanism of the P320 is designed to prevent the release of the striker in a drop or during transportation. In case of a failure of the sear-to-striker interface, it has a redundant striker safety that blocks striker travel unless the trigger is pulled. FBI BRF demonstrated that that was not true. The P320 will pass drop safety testing in accordance with AR-PD-177. They claim after their mitigation, after action probability level, E, improbable. All right, failure number 2, striker mechanical failure. Potential failure mode results. Pistol accidentally or unintentionally discharges with, again, the result being unaliving a person unintentionally, and they rate this as E, improbable. At the individual level, it's so unlikely it can be assumed occurrence may not be experienced in the life of the item. However, fleet-wide, the likelihood is unlikely but possible. And in their mitigations, C recommendations, the P320 has a striker safety that prevents striker contact with the primer in the unlikely event of the failure of the striker sear interface. Again, the FBI BRF showed that that is not true. And then they claim that they have eliminated this from probability after the mitigation of the striker safety. Item number 3, sear fails to retain striker. And this can result in multi-shot failure, which can unalive a person unintentionally. The likelihood of this is D, remote, which means at the individual unit level, unlikely but possible to occur sometimes in the life of an item, and at the fleet level, unlikely but can reasonably be expected to occur. And again, here they claim the P320 is designed with a negative sear angle and dual sear springs to ensure that once engaged, the sear will not release the striker unless the trigger is reset and pulled. So, if you believe the FBI Ballistic Research Facility that the P320 striker safety is easily defeated, and I quote, during an officer's duties, such as running, jumping, climbing, fighting, pressing a weapon against a wall or vehicle, or obtaining a master grip on the pistol prior to drawing, etc., and if you believe Sig Sauer themselves that before the mitigation of the striker safety, you should expect to see fleet-wide failures, and I quote, several times, then you should definitely also believe that the Sig Sauer P320 pistol can, contrary to SIG's public statements to the contrary, fire uncommanded and without a trigger press.